I would say the biggest objection that I see is people say, well, how do you make money with that?
Yeah.
And it's really just a matter of what is the strategy and what are the decisions that you're making. Because a lot of times the truly regenerative way costs less because it's more natural. You're working with nature to create something that wants to exist.
Hello and welcome back to the Oracle on Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Leah Dunlap, and today I'm here with Sarah Nolan. She's into regenerative real estate, and I'm really excited because when we talk here about making an impact and making a difference, we're talking to women founders and entrepreneurs about their journey and how they've chosen their path and the work that they do. And so what I really would like to have you tell us about is your own journey, like what took you into this path of real estate and how you might be changing things up and making that impact in the way that you do it.
So I grew up around real estate. I grew up in a very unique way. You know, a lot of people, when they say they grew up around real estate, they had a family member that sold it or had a lot of rentals or something like that. The way that I grew up around real estate was watching my family and really my ancestors, like my great-great-grandfather, build this camp in rural New Hampshire where they lived on the property and ran the summer camp. And I grew up working at that camp, spending my summers there, working there. And then my grandparents had, on the property they lived on, they ran a boarding school for mentally disabled children.
Wow.
And so I grew up hearing the stories about that, and it gave me this perspective of real estate that was totally different. You know, we didn't have this big portfolio of rentals and developments, but it was this unique way of living this real estate lifestyle that it made an impression on me.
Yeah. And it's just even like kind of the imagery that comes up of like this idea of like using the land in a way of giving back and creating this. So, you know, you mentioned regenerative. I don't know why I can't say that word right now. Regenerative real estate. Tell us more about what does that mean? What does that mean? So for people that aren't familiar with what that's all about.
Yeah, so generative means you create something. Regenerative means what you create something.
Right.
So you're building an impact over and over and over again because of the decisions that you're making and the intention that you're putting into whatever that is. And it can look a lot of different ways. You know, it can be, it can be things that you're doing with a neighborhood. It could be something you're doing with tourism. It can be with your own home. So you can take these principles and apply them to anything related to real estate or business or really anything that you're doing.
And what got you focused on that area of like going that way with your real estate?
So I started my consulting world with like energy and healing and coaching and things like that. And that actually led me into real estate, but from that perspective of making an impact and coming from a place of healing. So when I got my real estate license and when I started working with investors, I knew I had to be aligned, and my alignment was, you know, not the status quo. It's you know, a little bit unique, taking all these experiences and all of these perspectives and doing what I consider to be the right thing for me and the people that I work with.
What if you could tap into the law of attraction with precision and power on your terms? I'm Leah Dunlap, and in my audiobook, Power Up the Law of Attraction, I give you the no-fluff blueprint to create a life of purpose, prosperity, and peace. Ready to stop manifesting by accident and start creating with intention? Download Power Up the Law of Attraction now on Audible. Now, back to the show.
You came from a family of real estate. It's a little different, but you still like that was kind of where you were raised. Now you're brought up. And then you just, as you mentioned here, you're like, oh, and then I have this journey and I was in a healing environment. One of the things I think people who are founders and women and entrepreneurs, we're always looking for that expressiveness, right? Mm-hmm. Like that expression of ourselves. So what was it that kind of gave you that trajectory change where it was like, okay, this is what I can do? And then, of course, as you're saying, you kind of brought the intuitive or the healing side into it. What helped you do that? What did you do to kind of find your way to that path?
It was a pretty big decision to dive into real estate. It's something that I've always been interested in and even had kind of like a secret passion around. And it was a really big decision to just totally, dedicate almost all of my time to it. So when I did that, I said, if I'm going to really do this, I'm going to go for it all in. And what that means to me is I'm going to be aligned. I'm going to keep that alignment in my view, and I'm going to stay impassioned, and I'm only going to focus on what's in alignment for me, what I'm passionate about, and what lights me up. And so I started noticing and going after things that inspire me, because that inspiration is a divinely, led thought or action. And through that, it's like the breadcrumbs, it's like, this inspires me, so that leads me to this, and this inspires me, and that just led me down this path. When I first started, I didn't know what regenerative real estate was, but I found myself naturally being guided to that. And then a lot of things came together at once, and then here we are.
Yeah, isn't that the way it always works though too, right? Like with intuition and guidance, and people are always asking me, I'm like, you don't have to try so hard.
Right.
Like, exactly. I think it's almost the trying hard that makes it harder.
Yeah.
And so it's like, there is the breadcrumbs, as you said, or the things that we notice suddenly are feeling more aligned or less aligned. And I also love that you also said, like, I didn't even know what this was. And I love that too, because I think sometimes people just know they're meant to be like making a change, or they know something's not quite there yet, or they know they have something more to do, they might say. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh yeah, I know there's something else, not quite sure what it is. So how did you find, like, how did that drop in your plate? Like, were you calling in real estate? Were you saying, oh, I want to do what I'm doing, but differently? Like, I'm curious for people that are listening, like, what was the method, if you will, that you took to like go, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm changing direction. How did that get on your radar? Like, what was the scenario there?
Yeah, it was an interesting journey to that. And it really had to do with I work with an advisory team called Seeding Change. And we're a group of financial and business strategic advisors. And through those connections and conversations, and we're all about, all of us are about alignment and about major, major impact, and also creating new income streams. And for me, it really started with getting into real estate investing. And once I got into that and realized the impact that I could make with that led me into getting my real estate license and realizing, oh my gosh, I can make an impact with this. And, even bringing real estate agents together who have this mission. And there's a lot of healers that have been coming forward who have also been kind of shifting and feeling this calling to help steward the earth stewarders. You know what I mean?
I do actually.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting you bring that up, because I've always been fascinated with real estate myself. And I just, exactly what you just said, like, hit me, like, yes, like that to be a steward of the land is kind of almost one of the highest callings.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because, so often, and maybe in the past, hopefully, real estate, realtors, there was kind of this bad connotation maybe. And so now to see that even being changed into this more idea of like having impact and giving back in a way, or making that, I mean, almost a win-win, obviously, of like, we can prosper, which I totally believe in. We can prosper and we can be impactful and we can be on purpose. So as you're moving and growing this, what's your, like, where do you want to take this next? What is your next big vision for what you're doing today?
So there's a few different directions that they all work together. One is I'm mentoring existing and new real estate agents who, like I said, there's a lot of healers and generally like impact-driven individuals who are realizing the impact that real estate can have. And so I'm mentoring a lot of these people to also be able to specialize in this way and support. I'm starting my podcast and more, working on a more international reach so that I can really focus on the consulting aspect of this and be able to direct these investors to the right individuals that know where they understand where they're coming from, beyond like, this is a 4-bedroom house or a 20-unit hotel, you know what I mean? And they really get the impact and they really get the energetics behind and the prayer behind land stewardship. So it's kind of that twofold.
Yeah. What do you think or what are you coming up against as far as like any kind of resistance about regenerative real estate? Like, are there places where you're hitting barriers around bringing this out more into the world?
Really, it has been flowing very naturally, which is exciting. If there was anything, it would just be the lack of awareness of what it is or what's possible, because a lot of people, I would say the biggest objection that I see is people say, well, how do you make money with that?
Yeah.
And it's really just a matter of what is the strategy and what are the decisions that you're making. Because a lot of times the truly regenerative way costs less because it's more natural. You're working with nature to create something that wants to exist.
Ah, great. I love that. So it sounds like more education, right?
Yeah,
what
education
it is.
And in giving people some examples to look at, like, look, this person is doing this thing. If they're doing it, I can do it too. Or like maybe this person's doing this person's doing that. I want to, I can pull from these, examples and make my own thing.
Right. Oh, I love that. So what's a good example? So let's give them an example of what might be something you've worked on recently that's a project that you're excited about.
So I'm working with somebody right now to create a drug rehab center and sober living community. So it's very unique in that it'll have a detox facility and kind of all the levels of care within that one property. And it's a holistic method. It's really supporting the whole being and the whole healing process, including the nature and potentially, equestrian healing and stuff like that. So incorporating the healing of the community and nature and medicine and things.
So like literally from the roots up.
Exactly.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this has been a great conversation. And I know people are out there thinking, wow, like if anybody didn't know before, I can see light bulbs going off, right? I can see like those little moments and glimmers of, no idea that this was even out there. And also I love the fact that as your journey explains, like we can always be on purpose and still moving and flowing into different avenues of what we're doing. So with that in mind, I like to always give people the chance to ask the Oracle a question as an intuitive and see if I can help with that guidance of where you might be flowing to next. So do you have a question? Do you think of something now that you're looking at coming up that you might want some assistance or some insight about what's up for you?
What just keeps coming to my mind is like who to connect with next.
Okay, great question. Yeah, so who to connect with next. I think the one thing that shows up for you is it's more foundations, right? I see foundations rather than individuals. So she's showing me like just large organizations, right? So to get speaking in front of them, possibly funding, but it feels more like the sharing of the knowledge and getting their backing on what you're doing is going to be the next big opening for you as far as getting more message out and having it's just like the wind behind your back.
Yeah.
Right? The little bit of push forward. So definitely like several big organizations, I don't know if you're already working with Habitat for Humanity at all or looking at that.
No, I'm not. No.
Yeah. So that's one that popped up there. But there's another one. It almost feels like what I'm seeing here is like, it's almost like a financial institution or Yeah, so we're talking about a foundation that is there to provide money for big causes. So that's kind of the way to look. But yeah, Habitat for Humanity just popped right on the stage in front of me.
Cool.
So I would definitely say that's probably a good first contact.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that work? Does that like play for you?
Yeah.
As far as
I'm thinking about it now. Yeah.
She's like, dots are falling.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And I think that she's just like, that's great because she's giving me and that's like the kickoff. Like that's the wind behind your back. It's going to lift you up. So yeah, I would say that's the answer to that question is,
All right.
Yeah. So look for those big organizations, but yeah, she popped them right in front of me. So that's a good sign.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. Let's let everybody know how they can hear more about what you're up to and your projects and how they can get a hold of you. You can just, share right there, let them know how they can reach you.
All right. So we have a website called seedingchange.com, and it's just seedingchange.com. And then I do a lot on my Facebook. You can look up Sarah Nolan. And those are probably the best. I would give out my phone number because I love to have that intimate conversation, but maybe you can message me for my phone number.
All right. Well, don't worry. If you're like, wait, I don't have a pen, it's okay. We've got you covered. Sarah Nolan, you can reach her. Thank you so much for being on the show. If you're wanting to follow up with Sarah, please do so. Follow her at seedingchange.com. We'll make sure we link everything back to her at the show notes so you don't have any problem finding her. And then maybe you can get her phone number at that point. So thank you again for being here. Thanks for being a guest. For all of you following me, thank you so much for coming back. Thanks for being a part of our audience. And please make sure you subscribe and stay tuned to our next episode of Oracle on Purpose podcast.